Welcome to the Best is Surrey podcast. My name's Paul Deach.
And I'm Marisa Heath.
Now, Marisa, we haven't recorded a podcast for a while. We've both been dead busy.
Yeah.
Council life keeps us busy, but I think we've both been busy in our respective professional careers. And I've been busy with my daughter sorting out universities, and anybody who's ever done that knows what a busy time that is.
Yeah.
What are you up to? Where are you right now? Because it doesn't look like your usual background.
No, but I'm out and about. I'm in the RSPCA offices actually in London because it's their 200-year anniversary this evening. So they've got an event going on with politicians in the House of Commons. So I'm helping them out with that actually. So yeah, I've got a nice warm office here.
Oh, great. And has there been a lot of, interest from the politicians?
Well, they're expecting about 100 MPs to turn up this evening. So there is actually quite a lot of MP interest in animal welfare. They had another event a couple of weeks ago, a kind of coalition of animal welfare charities, and they got loads of MPs through the door for that. So, but it's still early days. So MPs are keen and enthusiastic. They'll soon get weary and tired, and you'll get less of them at these sorts of things.
Well, yeah, I guess as well with so many new MPs, because there's a lot, isn't there, of new MPs.
Yeah.
I expect they probably start off dead enthusiastic and want to get involved in everything. Bit like when if you remember, when we first became councillors, and then you realise that you just can't take on everything, and you've got to pace yourself a little bit.
I think like so many people go into politics with good intentions. I've seen that with councillors as well. Actually, I was speaking to a couple of councillors the other day who just said it's so hard to get anything done and make a difference. I think people really find that, and I think it's the same with MPs. They come in thinking, I'll do something on animal welfare, and I'll do something on poverty, and I'll do something on climate change, whatever it is, and then they realise actually it's really hard, and you probably end up focusing on one issue only, and you're lucky if you get something done in that. It's not an easy game.
I mean, I found when I became a councillor that, I think that I've made a difference in various areas, but I think what I found is how long everything takes just to get even the smallest thing done. Just takes an age, I think, in politics generally.
And that's really hard because you go out and see, I went to a area that's being dumped on a couple of weeks ago. So the residents are putting up with people bringing waste basically into this beautiful green field and chucking it in.
Oh, your video on that.
Yeah, and there's an enforcement process, but it's so long-winded. So basically residents say someone's acting illegally and they're ruining this area and causing absolute devastation, and yet they carry on doing it for weeks and weeks and weeks because the enforcement process is so slow. So in their mind, they're just like, nobody's doing anything. Where are the police? Where's the law and things? It's because you have to go through so many loopholes and ticking things off and lawyers and court orders and processes and things. It's maddening.
Yeah. So, okay, two things I think I want to talk about in this podcast. The first is the biggest probably decision our Parliament has had to take in a very long time. Probably, I would say, since what, gay marriage, perhaps, or
Right.
that's the assisted dying bill.
Okay.
And I wondered what you thought about all of that. I mean, I'll just, before you do, I think I will say from the off, I supported it. I think it's something that, as difficult as it is, I think it is something that is well overdue. I've been a first responder for the ambulance service in my previous life, and I've seen death and people, and I know you have too, and it's just very difficult. But I think that while I'm not sure whether if it came to it, I would use that provision in the law myself. I think I'm happy that it's an option that's available to me, and I do understand as well that the difficulty that the politicians had with it all. I thought the debate was sensible, and everybody behaved themselves, made their cases very were very considered in their debate. But I think at the end of the day, if it was to be abused, then so long as the law is in place to make sure that the penalty is so severe, it's equal to murder, I would suggest, if it was abused in the way that people are feared. But I'm glad that I'm glad with the outcome. I'm happy with the outcome of it. And where are you at with it all?
I would have preferred there to be a conversation first about what a good death looks like. I would prefer the conversation to be about what palliative care looks like as well, because at the moment that's largely run by charities, and I don't think that's the right position to be in. So I would have preferred that conversation to have happened first, so we can be really certain that people are being offered proper choice.
Yeah.
Um, and that we're getting those systems really sorted out, because I think we're letting down a lot of people. Now, two things stand out to me. One, brother-in-law had motor neuron, and he made the conscious decision when he was able to, very clearly, that he wanted to stay until he died naturally, basically, with his family. So he was very clear that was important to him, and I think that was important to his family. So again, I go back to the point of the care he was provided, it could have been better. I would have liked to have seen that much better. So, you know, people can really, really weigh up what they're going to do and the choices they make. The second thing is actually Nadine Dorris, of all people, was on the news the other week, and she's been through a personal experience because her husband died.
Yeah.
And I think it was Nadine Dorris. Really hope I haven't got this wrong, but
I
one
think it was, yeah.
politician, and she was basically saying his instant reaction was, right, I'm going off to Switzerland. I won't deal with this. This is too much to handle. I want to die now. And the family really persuaded him and kind of forced him in a way, I think she was saying, to stay alive. And actually, within the last couple of days or weeks of his life, he said, these have been the most valuable and important moments of my life, the experiences he had through then. So it's never going to be a decision that can be taken lightly, and nor should it. It needs to be ones with so many safeguards, and I don't think the NHS and palliative care is where it needs to be in order to offer that at the moment. So I guess I sound like I'm sitting on the fence on this one a bit, but I'm not completely confident in the decision that was made in Parliament.
I know, and I understand that, and I think it's going to be a few years. I think by the time it goes through all the different processes, the committees, and all that sort of stuff, before and the Lords, of
Yeah, and
course,
hopefully things can evolve.
and
Yeah.
hopefully that
Yeah.
will all get filtered out and resolved. But I do agree that I think what will probably come from all of this is some kind of review or something to improve the palliative situation. Because you're quite right, that is not it's not funded properly from what I can tell. You know, I do know because I have close family members who have been through hospice care, and friends as well. And you know, I'm told by the various hospices that they have to pretty much fund it all themselves. They get a very small amount of funding
Yeah.
from the government. That
Yeah.
can't be right, can it?
It can't be right. It's just too worrying that they might not be there, or they might not have the ability to provide for a lot of people. So I think that really needs to be addressed. And I'm also interested in the resource around this. I mean, it's an anecdotal little story. As I went for blood tests about 6 weeks ago, it took me 4 weeks to get the blood test. I asked for a specific blood test. I got a result back for something completely obscure that I didn't want. So I emailed my doctor to say, can I have the correct reading of my blood test? And they've said, oh, we'll give you a call on the 17th of December to discuss it. And just like, if we haven't even got the resources to do really low level stuff like that, how are we having GPs that can spend the time really analysing and looking at this, doctors, professionals around this? So that all needs thinking out. But you're right, it's not happening tomorrow. It's a process that needs to be thought through.
And I have to say that when I listened, because I did listen to all the debate, and I'm at least encouraged that we've got the intelligence within Parliament, and sensible people who having listened to that debate, I feel more confident that they will get to where it needs to be, one way or another. It certainly won't be rushed. So, okay, well, thanks for your views on that. And the other thing is, which is more relevant to you and I as county councillors, is the local government reorganisation. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so this was the article in the Times, was it a week or so ago, that
Yeah.
basically revealed the government's planning to release a white paper in the next couple of weeks that will say that it's going to change the whole way of local government. And the insinuation in that Times article was the districts and boroughs will go, and we'll be looking at unitary setups. We have neighbours who are unitary, so Berkshire, for example, are a unitary authority. But it means for the public, this will see a real change will it see a real change? I mean, that's something to debate, isn't it, actually? What change will they really see? So for anyone who doesn't know, the county council is responsible for highways. We do a huge amount of environment and countryside, schools, special educational needs, adult social services, which is the big thing that we have to deal with. We do a lot of health, working for better health, and we do economic and infrastructure, all around those issues. And of course, we do the big planning stuff around oil, gas,
The
gravel.
strategic planning stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those sorts of things. The district and boroughs, they manage the parks. They might do play equipment, things like that. What else?
So they empty the bins.
They empty the bins, but we actually get rid of the waste. So
So they don't process the waste.
yeah,
They
we
just
deal
empty
with
the
that.
bins. Right.
Yeah, so they collect the bins from the doors. What else? The licensing of alcohol places or strip clubs, whatever it is. And
Gambling. Yeah.
yeah, gambling. And then the big one that they do is planning. So they're the ones responsible for deciding what houses get built in the area.
Right.
So that's the biggest one. I think a lot of people, I'll be quite straight about this, I was on a borough for a long time. A lot of people wouldn't notice if their borough council disappeared or their district council disappeared. And when you think about it, somebody said to me the other day, well, what difference is it going to make financially and things? And I said, well, think about this. You've got 12 chief executives on 150 to 200K each
And
across
some,
the county, yeah, with all their pensions and blah, 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 and side costs and things to that, all pretty much doing a sort of similar job. If you could get down to having 2 or 3 of those sorts of level people, there's already a saving. And then all the administration and support staff around that, you start saving in staff predominantly. I think that's probably one of the first things. And then you've also got less need for buildings and sort of double doing pieces of work, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I have to say, so I too was a borough councillor at Surrey Heath Borough Council. I was one there for 12 years, first elected in 2011. And I said, even before I was first elected, I've always advocated for unitary authorities.
Okay.
And like you say, predominantly for that reason that, you know, in Surrey, we have 12 chief exec officers, we have 12 legal officers, 12, what do they call them? Section 151 officers, which is the finance officers.
Yeah.
And then we've got 12 departments of everything. Now, you know, Surrey has 1.2, roughly 1.2 million residents. You know, it's quite a large geographical area. It's quite a diverse set of communities that we have within the borders of Surrey, as well as a good mix of rural, urban, and semi-rural urban in between. So very diverse communities. My initial, when I first thought about this, I thought a single unitary authority would be a good thing. And I think that maybe 20, 30 years ago, you can understand why they had the borough and district set up, because they weren't quite there with the technology and all the rest of it. But now we are there where we need to be. But I do think that maybe it might just be a little bit too big for one single unitary now, thinking about it. When you consider, you know, all the roads that we have to look after, you know, cutting all the grass verges and the countryside management and everything else, it's a big task. So I think I would certainly consider a 2 or 3 combined authority situation. That's probably where I would land at. But nonetheless, it is still something I strongly support. And to be honest with you, I wish the Conservative government at the time would have had the balls to do it then.
They should have moved on with it.
It was a very controversial thing, and more so actually from Conservatives themselves, who a lot of them were against it.
Well, the issue is, I mean, the writing's on the wall. There was an article on the BBC a couple of weeks ago that Mole Valley is heading towards bankruptcy. We know that a lot of the other borough councils are also facing problems in terms of their financial management. Sorry, somebody's just walked past the window waving at me enthusiastically.
That's how popular you are, Marisa.
Yes, losing my train of thought. So yeah, we know that the money's running out. We also know that Labour will cut our funding. I think that's pretty much guaranteed. So for Surrey residents, you've got less money coming in. We continue to fund the Treasury to one of the highest tunes, second only to London in the country, but our money gets dispersed to other areas where they choose to put it.
Well, that's a very important point. So we are in what is termed a negative RSG situation. So RSG, as in revenue support grant, you know, the money we pay as taxpayers isn't enough, believe it or not, to pay for all the services that we offer, whether they're statutory services, discretionary services, whatever they may be.
Yeah.
So that is topped up by what's called revenue support grants in the various areas of the business. So whether that's children's services, adult social care, highways, the highways RSG is unbelievable how that is funded. It's just so unfair, and it's something that we've all campaigned for, particularly Rebecca Paul, who is now the MP for Reigate. Is that the name of the constituency? That she's campaigned tirelessly to get that addressed, and I think now is the time to have that sensible conversation about fair funding. But
it's not going to happen, though.
It's not, because
I
Surrey.
don't be political, but Labour are never going to fund Surrey, and I think our residents need to know that things are going to get tighter. Your council tax will go up, not because we want to put it up. They've already said, the papers, everyone has said Labour will ensure that the council tax goes up. They continue to think Surrey is a wealthy county. That happened all through the 2000s, from 1997 to 2010. We just got money cut. We are going to be in a very, very difficult position. So if we want to carry on giving services to our residents, picking up the bins, making sure the roads are decent, we've started to up the investment massively into our roads. We can't see that go backwards. People were furious with the potholes and the damage to our roads. We've got to maintain them. Then we need to really seriously think about how we use our resource in the most effective way. It's going to be a lot of work and pressure on us.
Yes, we're going to have to do more with less. And how do you do that is very, very challenging. And I think that we need to have honest conversations. It's our responsibility as councillors to level with our constituents and tell them exactly how it is. And the trouble is, some of it is very tricky to explain.
We have the pressure from adult social services and the special educational needs is immense and ever growing, and we know we've struggled with that. We just got rated good by Ofsted on the adult social services, which is great. Well done to the team who've done that. But we know we still have challenges in SEND, which we have a plan now to deal with it. But nonetheless, it's expensive. It's very, very expensive. So, and our responsibility is to looking after the vulnerable people in this community as the top priority. That's statutory. So again, it goes back to our poor residents. And I really say that genuinely, because they faced increasing tax, increasing council tax, often poorer services, over years, because Surrey has been seen as this kind of entity that can just keep giving to the rest of the country. And I think that's going to be an increasing problem. So if we don't reorganise the way we do things and find ways of being efficient, we won't be able to service our residents. And that's ultimately what we're here to do. That's what councils are there to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So we will see this thing unfold now. Labour seem
determined more in the next few weeks. Yeah,
they're determined to push this through. And to be honest with you, I actually applaud them for doing that. I think it is well overdue.
Look, people want things done, don't they? People are fed up of loads of rhetoric and things not being done. So I think that might be the push everyone needs to rethink things. We've had the same system for a long time. So,
but the other thing is as well, which is a ridiculous situation, and it's something we all as councillors, whether you're county councillors, borough councillors, or parish councillors, that you go to a constituent goes to their councillor with a particular issue. They don't know that the county council is responsible for something that the borough. They don't know, and you get this kind of ping pong of going backwards and forwards to different councillors before you then get to the right authority that you need to speak to. And I think it would make sense to have it all under one roof, and we are accountable for everything, not just
I mean, my residents get infuriated by that ping pong. And it goes back to a conversation we had a while ago on this podcast, Paul, where we spoke about the calibre of councillors as well. If you move to a unitary model and have less councillors, make the competition harder, get the very best through, have better politicians representing you, more accountability, more answerable. So that can be a positive.
Completely agree. And I suspect in future podcasts, soon, in fact, we're going to be discussing this more in great detail.
We will undoubtedly. Before we end, though, can I just do one shout out? A couple of weeks ago, it might have been last week. I can't remember now. I can't keep track. I went over to visit a business in Dorking called Northfields, and it's farm supplies. It's a local family, and they got hit by the oil spill that happened in July. Remember when oil was just poured over the roads of Dorking, and they had to shut all the roads off, and they lost a significant amount of money, which the insurance company is not paying up for. I just want to do a shout out for them, because they're doing Christmas trees, and they do lots of other things in their shop, all your pet foods, livestock stuff, things to fix everything, DIY and all of that. If anyone living around there could just go and visit the shop and perhaps buy something, it would just really help them keep a business going, a local business. And they are so decent. They're a local, you know, family who are working their socks off.
If you can send me their web address on
Go.
WhatsApp when we finish this, I will overlay that onto the content so people can easily find them. And the next time I'm over there, I will definitely be.
That would be fantastic. And for anyone, I mean, we hear this message, shop local, but this Christmas is a real opportunity to shop local. Think about the small guys, because they've had a really tough few years with COVID and Brexit and Ukraine. Expenses going up and energy is about to go up again. So you can really make someone's business work out by just choosing to go there instead of Amazon or Tesco's or whatever.
Absolutely. So we will be recording another podcast very soon. Slight change of format this time. And yeah, I'm off to Manchester tomorrow. But I'll be back on Saturday, and we'll get one recorded early next week. Hopefully, we'll have some more news on the local government reorganisation.
Yeah, we will. Yeah. Okay.
See you soon.
Just bye.